Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific podcast brought to you by the Banterflix movie review website. We aim to see if there's a deeper, more metaphysical, philosophical meaning to the films we'll be discussing. And on this episode, I'm joined by Adam, the Prince of Castle Street Neeson. Hello, Adam.
All right, Jim.
Yes, for anyone who doesn't have a clue what the fuck we're talking about, listen back to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 pod. I'm sure there will be some references in this recording, Adam, to The King of Castle Street, our new sitcom that we are working on.
I've heard BBC are very interested.
I heard Netflix.
Oh?
Yeah.
We got that Netflix money?
We got the Netflix. There was actually some money, listeners, around the studio. I don't actually know what. There's
here it is.
That Netflix is coming. It is for motion picture use only. So there we go.
Oh, we can make it a film, I guess.
50 motion picture use dollars. So there we go. Listeners, we've made it.
We've made it big time.
Yeah, this is the worst opening to this podcast ever. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about The Flash. It was out in cinemas a couple of weeks ago, and we're getting around to talking about it. And there is a reason, Adam, why I thought of your lovely self.
Because you hate me and you want me to watch terrible movies?
No, I don't hate you. Obviously not, because I've got you back on. I do hate him, listeners.
No.
But it would be a couple of months now ago we had you on the pod. I forget what we were discussing. It might have been Megan. Or it might have been something around a similar time to Megan. I can't quite recall. But you said the film we're about to review this evening, a bit like the way Joe McElroy said that Bullet Train doesn't exist. It's not a real film. You said that this film we're about to review on this pod would never be released.
And I should have been correct. I think I would have saved people a lot of time and money.
Okay, so I think Adam is maybe letting slip his feelings towards The Flash. But I think before we get stuck into discussing the film and sharing our thoughts and seeing if it is more than pixels on a screen, let's play a clip.
Nice suit. Looking good, Flash.
Well, thank...
And you are welcome.
My ego's far too big to say thank you to someone else.
I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma.
I too have childhood trauma.
The lasso of truth never gets old.
I would do a lot better just giving all that money away. If I really want to end crime, I should end poverty.
Well, I know sex exists. I've just never experienced it.
Well, I have to run. Always a pleasure.
The sex thing was a metaphor for Gothic literature. There was just no way to recover from that.
Just let it go.
So that's a clip of The Flash. Adam, I get a sense that, as I said before, you're not very enthusiastic about this film. And I will say neither was I. I could not muster any enthusiasm for the film prior to its release. That is not to say I enjoyed the film, but I'll say right from the get-go, I didn't hate it. And I have a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of talk out there about the visual effects. I'm sure we will get round to that. I have a lot of issues with it, and I know that the film hasn't particularly found an audience at the box office. And I know on a couple of weeks ago on the TV show, we were kind of addressing that within the confines of 5-10 minutes on the show. But now that we have the pod, we can pull on that thread a little bit longer.
4 hours long. Let's go.
4 hours long recording. The last one, listeners, was an hour and 42 minutes. I assure you we will not be discussing The Flash for an hour and 42 minutes. Well, in fairness, we didn't talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy for an hour and 42 minutes. 10 minutes of that was spent talking about that, and the rest was on about our new exciting venture, The King of Castle Street.
Which is more exciting, of course, than The Flash.
Yes, but not more exciting than the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Well, don't tell Netflix that. They might take those... We've got a whole 50 motion picture dollars to make this TV series, and hope that we can persuade Martin Scorsese, Joe Pesci, Christopher Walken, Robert De Niro, somehow get the money to bring back the ghost of Jerry Stiller,
Tom Hanks,
James Gunn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Maybe from this recording we might maybe try and see if we can get Michael Keaton on board. I'd like to see that.
He's all teeth. Keaton.
He's all teeth and no chin. Yeah, famously for a Batman. Anyway, let's not go down that tangent just yet. So you've kind of very quickly let our listeners know you are not a fan of The Flash.
No.
So do you want to... We'll not talk spoilers just yet. Generally share your thoughts.
It was a movie that I wasn't really excited for. I'm not a big DCEU fan. I did enjoy the Snyder cut and Man of Steel and bits of Batman vs Superman, but everything else has kind of been for me. I like The Flash as a character. I've watched maybe too much of the TV show. I should have fallen off way sooner than I did. So it's
when has Adam ever had that problem before? When has Adam been like the person who's like, you know what? I'm gonna stick to this. Did I really like this? I'll go see this again. I can't mock you on this for this film though, because listeners, I'm gonna let you in a secret. Usually, unless the film is a bona fide classic and I absolutely adore it, this is the first film in a while I've seen more than once in the cinema. And referring to The Flash, of course, because I went to see The Flash on the opening night because came home. My lovely this story gets even worse as I tell it. My lovely wife had a terrible day. I said, "Mom, we'll go to the cinema. Well, we'll go and just clear our head for a couple of hours." And she's like, "Oh, what's on?" And I was like, "Oh, I went through the listings." And I was trying to persuade her to go see Boogeyman. Still haven't seen it. And she's like, "Oh no, there's The Flash. You like comic book movies?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I was gonna go see it, but maybe in a week or so." She's like, "No, we'll go see The Flash. Let's have a date night." So we went to see the film. And then a couple of days later, my next door neighbour, Pete, who is currently recuperating from surgery after falling during mountain biking, said, "Jim, fancy the cinema? I'm off for a little bit. I really want to go see Spider-Man Across the Multiverse." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've already seen it, but I'll happily go see that film again." Drove down to the cinema, and he literally was like, "What, The Flash is on?" "Oh, Jim, would you mind if we went to see The Flash? Have you seen it?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've seen it." He's like, "Do you want to go see it again?" You're like, "Mate, I'm your date for the night. Let's go." So I've seen The Flash twice. Now, to clarify, not like you, where it's like, did I like that film? Was I certain? Did I see something? I'll go see it again. I'll go see it like 3-4 times. So I have seen The Flash twice.
And you've pre-ordered the Blu-ray, of course.
Blu-ray, VOD. I'm actually getting Andy Muschietti to make me a VCR version and maybe see if I can get a Laserdisc as well.
Andy Muschietti.
That's what I'm assuming it is. Oh, sorry, I'm really chesty this morning. I'm going to get that out of me. Right, yeah, Andy Muschietti. Muschietti. Maybe Andy Muschietti could work in our King of Comedy, our King of Castle Street.
Here, wouldn't have him as a director, if you know what I'm saying.
All right, Marty's coming out early tonight. Sorry, I am really... Oh.
See, Jim has what they call the flash flu, which means that if you see the...
this is all going to get cut, so don't worry.
Poo.
Oh, no. Sorry. Where were we? Right, okay. So I've seen this film twice, and yes, I've ordered it on VOD, DVD,
4K.
4K. I've also asked Andy Muschietti to make me a VCR and Laserdisc as well, just to have them all sitting proud as punch on my desk at work.
And Ezra will actually ring you from his jail cell and tell you the plot of the movie.
Yes, they will.
Yeah. They'll be like...
Actually, you know what? I've actually got ordered a life-size cardboard cutout of them.
Have you picked the younger Barry or the older Barry?
Older in full outfit.
It's because the younger Barry is meant to be 18, but yet acts like a 7-year-old.
Yeah, and he's annoying as fuck.
He has what I like to call big disorder, right? Which is...
Does this come back to Tom Hanks?
Yes. Chocolate.
Oh, chocolate.
You know the movie Big?
Yeah.
Have I talked about this before in a podcast?
No.
I don't know. It's placed in my mind all the time.
Maybe it was your own podcast.
Oh, maybe. Don't go listen to that, guys. The big disorder is he's like gets a ticket and he's like, I want to be older, and then he grows up to be 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then Tom Hanks and the writers are like, he was 15, but what if Tom Hanks plays him like a crayon eating 4-year-old?
We've all had crayons.
They're delicious. And then
What's your favourite?
probably the red one.
I would go red too. See, great minds think alike, Adam.
You're like, is it grape? And you go, no, it's just wax.
After about the 10th bite, you know, I'm still getting wax.
Gotta go back for more. But then in that movie,
There is something very nice about biting into a crayon, though. I'm a 40-year-old man, and still, if I'm like round at kids' houses,
could I come and eat your crayons?
if I'm round at friends' houses and they have kids and they're painting or they're just drawing and stuff, I see crayons, think, oh, I'd love to bite one.
You eating it? See, it's a bit. Don't you be hogging all them. Ezra, tell him.
I don't want the fucking green one, I want the red one.
The green tastes like boogers.
Right, okay. Yeah, I actually get what you mean about... Do you want it on a tangent? Ding.
No way.
Ding, no way on this podcast. Did you know that, bringing it back pseudo to King of Castle Street, that Robert De Niro was the first choice for Big?
I thought you were going to say Robert De Niro was the first choice for The Fly. He's like, fucking what?
I'd love to see that.
I got to run fast. That's the low.
Could you imagine De Niro doing the running?
Like he did in the fucking Irishman. His wee shuffly feet.
So it's all right, Robert. We can de-age you. So,
Worked great last time.
yeah, right. So The Flash. Yes,
Hold on.
I've seen this twice, and crayons. Yes.
So he was the first choice for Big.
Yes, he was the big choice. He was.
He was the big choice.
What's the name of it? Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall originally wanted Robert De Niro to play the lead role in Big, and I think I'm not sure how far it got, because it's just I've read her autobiography. I would recommend it. Or at one point when she came onto the project, he was being considered. I know sadly Penny Marshall has passed away, but I would recommend her book because I remember reading about it at the time. Because we did a screening of A League of Their Own for International Women's Day a couple of years ago at the Strand. Very good screening, very good film. They have made, or they are making, a TV series of A League of Their Own, aren't they? Or
It's already out.
not the Sky One series.
No, it's already out on Amazon.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that. Okay, I might give it a watch.
See, Jim's anti-women and anti-baseball.
Yeah. You know, shit sport. What can I say? Like, you know, give me cricket any day.
Here, I'll tell you what. The show's a real home run. Put that in the poster, Penny Marshall. Rest in peace.
Yes. But yes, I would recommend her book. She actually, at one point, when the film was actually being made, she actually suffered a miscarriage. And
All right, bring the fucking tone
I
down.
know, she suffered a miscarriage, but this is just amazing, I think, anyway. She suffered a miscarriage, went to hospital, and they had to, whatever it was, they were under pressure to get everything wrapped up, or not wrapped up, but filmed that day. So she went back and filmed after suffering a miscarriage. So she was lying on the ground, on the floor, directing Tom Hanks to eat that crayon. Tom, leave the red one. Maybe try the yellow one. No one would ever go. I don't think I'd ever go for a yellow crayon. Red. There's so, maybe it's just we've just been indoctrinated with colours. Because like when I thought of the branding for Banterflix, it has to be red. Maybe that's about my love for crayons. And red.
You're like, that's a delicious logo.
But it's like when you think about like Coke and Santa. All
The big two.
all the best things are red. Apart from, you know, the Soviet nation. Soviet Union.
They're at it again.
Yeah.
What's your favourite type of yellow food?
Yellow food? Would a Milky Bar kind of yellowish? Or no, Carmack.
I'll allow it.
Carmack, or you know what, even better, and I know Joe McElroy will back me up in this because I know he listens, one of the few people that listens, a Gold Bar.
Oh, yeah.
But do you not think it's sad that a Gold Bar is getting smaller?
Yeah, like, did they count as biscuits or chocolate bars?
Biscuits. But I remember back in my day, you could have picked up on Castle Street a gold bar as big as your head.
On Castle Street?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes. Right, okay. So I think we're Inception-esque. We're in tangent upon tangent upon tangent. Someone will play Edith P.F., pull ourselves back up. So The Flash. You were not a fan.
No. The movie itself, I was genuinely not excited, but like interested. I kind of pushed myself to go see it in the opening weekend because I like the Flash as a character, and you know, Ezra Miller. They haven't really been given the big chance that they're seen in Zack Snyder's Justice League, where they have
Is this the 4-hour version?
yeah,
Yeah.
where they have to like turn back time or whatever, and you know, save Russia or whatever that was at the end. It was one of the best scenes. Of course, won the Oscar. Do you remember for best fan moment?
No, I didn't know this.
Don't remember that?
No.
Whenever the Oscars were like,
Shit.
um,
Is this one of these kind of Oscars that doesn't really count as an Oscar, but it's Oscars, we're so hip and cool, we're digitally de-aged like Robert De Niro?
it was like fan voted. I think this was like last year or the year before. It was like fans can vote for their favorite movie moment of the year.
Is this also the same fans who voted the Zack Snyder film? Wasn't it one like the people's, their kind of like the public vote Oscar?
Yes,
It's like the blue Oscar rather than the traditional gold.
yes, but it ended up being, it was like a campaign run for No Way Home to like win an Oscar, and then they just went, what if the Flash turned back time won the Oscar? So, you know, same way Suicide Squad is an Oscar winner for her makeup, but they'll still put it on the box.
Counts.
Does 100%.
It all counts, Adam.
Jared Leto didn't comb his hair like that just to not win an Oscar.
No, he did not.
I had to watch Morbius for a second time the other day.
Why? Why? No, the key thing you say there, right? There's a key word you threw into that sentence. Had. Had.
Jared Leto around the house. He's like, "Do you know what's good? Them red crayons."
Stuffing his face with crayons. Here, throw on Morbius.
He goes, "These are vegan, you know." Oh,
Here, if I just rub my face with these red crayons, I'm a vampire. Would
have been scary in the film.
Yeah.
We were filming. I'm filming a new short film, soon to come out. Well, who knows? And one of our actors was like, "Stick on a film, not to get us in the mood, but kind of just to have background noise." And the film they chose was Morbius. Thanks.
Good job, little buddy.
Thanks. Well, we're talking about the Flash. My thoughts on the Flash. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
Are puts a baby in the microwave.
Yeah, I do have serious issues with the opening sequence.
It just seemed half cooked, the whole thing.
The baby or the Can I just say, the opening sequence in The Flash, I think, is probably one of the most ill-judged action sequences I can think of.
Yeah.
I kind of sat there the first time round I watched it, and I kind of went, really? So, okay, they're doing weird CGI babies falling out of this building that the Flash is trying to save while Batman is off doing his thing. And I know we've already mentioned we'll talk about the visual effects. They are terrible. And I know that Andy Muschietti has tried to justify that, and I'll come back to that as well. But then there's that sequence where you see, like, there's at one point, is it a big knife or something is pointing towards one of these babies?
Yeah.
A lot of babies in peril. And then there's the sequence with the microwave that you've mentioned. And I just kind of sat there going, who the fuck sat in the kind of pre-development stage and went, got it. Opening for the film, babies falling out of a tall building. Flash is going to save them. One of them's going to be in a microwave. And there'll be a dog. It is fucking... and I sat there the first time going, real? I couldn't believe it. And I was like, right, okay. whatever fucking floats your boat. Like, I'm going to say right from the get-go, I didn't mind The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I have a lot of problems with it and what it's trying to do. And I think ultimately its biggest flaw is it feels a little bit pointless, because we now know that everything is kind of being retooled anyway. And The Flash, for all its talk by James Gunn and co, Peter Safran, isn't it? Said, The Flash is still very much part of this universe and this is an opportunity for us to retool everything. It's not. They're just good. They have another Batman movie lined up with apparently a different actor.
Yeah.
We have, and I know it's a bit of a spoiler, we have 3 Batmen in this film. None of them are going to be the new Batman going forward in part of the DC universe. And then also it gets complicated because you're going to have the Elsewhere stuff that they talk about, and they're going to have Robert Pattinson still as Batman.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about this being the end of the Snyderverse. Everyone keeps forgetting Aquaman 2's coming out. Aquaman 2's it is. It's coming out at Christmas time.
Hold on, I'll put my stakes down now. I bet you that film doesn't come out.
You were right the first time round.
I'll see you in December, guys.
So that's kind of the end. And I know we had Darren Vincent and I were talking about Shazam, The Fear of the Gods, isn't that it?
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, didn't tank at the box office, didn't find an audience. And I think people are basically saying, well, why the fuck would we invest in something that we know isn't going to go any further? And now I see they're already out. Sorry, just to go off on a ranty McRant. I know James Gunn's already out going, don't worry, Blue Beetle, he's part of this new universe going forward. I don't think he is. I don't think he was envisioned as part of that. But there now, it's like, right, we've damage limitation here. We've got to kind of ensure that there's an interest in these films.
Yeah.
Because, it hasn't found a box office audience. It hasn't found an audience at the box office in America. Hasn't done particularly bad, but hasn't done particularly well. And you think back to, was it CinemaCon?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, it's the best superhero movie in years. That quickly changed.
Tom Cruise, Stephen King, all these big names coming out saying, this is really good. And it's like, how much did they pay you to say this? And also, it's really sullied film criticism, I think, as well, because these people, these film critics are sent to CinemaCon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're meant to be...
Not me. I've never been sent. I haven't got an email.
That's because we're working on a show.
Yeah.
And they're sent there to be the people to hype up, good movies coming out. Mm-hmm. It's like, imagine going to Cannes and coming out of Cannes and being like, you know what the best movie was? Morbius. Do you know what I mean? And all these videos, and then people, the movies came out and it's shit, and then people have went, why did you tell me this was really good? And then they're like standing by their morals. Well, I thought it was really good. Well, I thought the CGI is fine. It's meant to be that way. And it's like,
can we touch on this? So the director has said the reason why things look like they're actually worse than The Mummy Returns. Right?
100%.
They're 100% worse than The Mummy Returns when that weird, terrible PS1 standard CGI The Rock emerged from the darkness, and we all kind of went, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I've waited an hour and a half for this, and this is what I'm getting. He wasn't Dwayne then, he was just The Rock.
Yeah.
Back then. They're coming back to that sequence, because part of me was wondering, in my head, at the time I noted down going, have they made the babies... sounds like I'm obsessed with this sequence, but the babies at the start, have they particularly made them terribly CGI looking so that it's kind of like that, the uncanny valley, so we know that they aren't real, so we're kind of going, right, we're not, real babies aren't or never in peril at that point. Part of me going, that would be quite clever-ish. But no, the reason that they say this is because that CGI is how Barry sees the world when he's in the Speed Force. And you're just like, you know what? I have 50 motion picture use dollars here. I call bullshit. The special effects, and I haven't seen a film with worse special effects in a while. Probably, there have been a few. But this is not, like, I've talked about this before, where it's a low-budget picture, A low budget blockbuster, maybe, I don't know, $30-40 million of a budget. And they try to do a big CGI sequence. They don't have the budget and it looks shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, right, you didn't understand the brief. You could have made a perfectly fine film, work within the confines of your budget. But this is a huge, big blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be having those problems.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it.
The CGI, I mean, there's the stuff at the start, I think, is terrible. All the stuff in the Speed Force is like, there's a bit with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Looks terrible. There's a couple of cameos.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, one of them, I think, one of them did put a smile on my face because I'm pleased to say it wasn't ruined for me.
Can we? Who is it?
Yeah, well, we're in spoilers, I suppose, at this point. So there is the cameo of Nicolas Cage fighting a spider. Mm-hmm. And I kind of went, right. My inner love for all things Kevin Smith, stay tuned on an upcoming episode as well. We'll be talking about one of his films. It was like, that's fan service. And it didn't look terrible. So I think, I'm not sure, maybe you've researched, I think they got him to do some stuff for it.
They did, and then CGI'd over him.
Yeah. But there's a few others which I love the idea of, and I love the idea behind it, but it doesn't work. So you have Christopher Reeve appearing near the film's finale. I love the way we've jumped from babies to finales. This is what people love in this podcast. It's like, do we discuss the middle bit? No, we discuss the start and the end, and everything in between is just a little bit shit. But there's an appearance by Christopher Reeves, and I apologize, I forget the name of the actress who played
Helen Slater.
Yes, and that is again some of the worst CGI. It works for a second, and then the camera pans.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, that doesn't work. And I was left going, because they do something similar with Adam West's Batman, but they just show cutaways of him almost in action. I think it's like cutaways of him in action, and you hear his voice.
Yeah.
You could have done that.
Yeah.
And it would have been, personally, far more effective. Or you know what? Just show a clip from one of the films.
Yeah. Like, this could have been a celebration of DC in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they have the cheek to be like, and here's George Reeves, a man who famously killed himself because he played Superman.
Do you know what was another thing? I know Superman's a big part of the film. Well, the narrative structure anyway. There's a lot of Supermen. Like, why could you not show like Linda Carter?
I know, it's super weird. It's super weird. And then you have all these like stories online of being like, there were so many cameos cut, and it's like, but why? I
read some of the original film ran in it by 4 hours.
Yeah, but it's like, why cut so many cameos but keep 3 Supermen?
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Do you know what it almost feels like? They're like, that's the best CGI we could come up with. Even
though one of the Superman, you know, like the Nicolas Cage Superman, that is a cameo that plays to about 4% of the audience. Because
it did not play to my lovely wife, who turned to me and says, "Why does Nick Cage have to be in fucking everything?" And I kind of went, "Look, it's all right. I'll explain to you later." And then when I went to see it the second time with Pete, shout out Pete, just go ahead, Pete.
Hope your shoulder's better, Pete.
Yeah, hope your shoulder is better, Pete. And he's like, he had a moment where he was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "I'll explain to you later. I'll send you the link on YouTube to that clip that Kevin Smith's even bored telling the story about." But I like that. That for me is a clever little Easter egg.
Yeah.
It's just that works. That works. It's just the Christopher Reeve stuff, and the Christopher Reeve stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's watching it the first time, I went, that's not great. And as I say, it's the moment the camera moves and it's trying to get the side angle of the face and the camera's trying to move with it. It's like, oh, either the technology's not there yet or you just didn't spend the budget.
No.
And watching it a second time, I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, it wasn't as bad as what I remember. Oh yeah, as soon as the camera moves, it's terrible. But look, we have literally jumped from start to finish, almost. Let's go and discuss what we rarely do when I get you on the pod. Let's discuss the middle angle. let's discuss Michael Keaton. So, of course, this is loosely based on one of my favourite graphic novels, Flashpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It plays with that instead. So, from my memory, it's been a while since I've read Flashpoint. We should have got Aaron Flanagan on for this, but
I like comic books, I can tell you.
I know, but we usually get Aaron. We like to build him up and say he's the comic book guru. But in that, Flash turns back time, like Cher did, with all those horny men on that boat, and he
Snap out of it.
he changes. Sorry, my throat again. He changes the past, has an effect in the future. He goes back, but it's Thomas Wayne is Batman now, not Michael Keaton's Batman, which kind of it does make more sense than this. And I know kind of they have in this film, they kind of have an explanation, probably one of my favorite explanations for a while of the multiverse concept, with Michael Keaton using spaghetti and sauce, and don't forget the Parmesan, just a garnish.
But then followed up by one of the most disgusting scenes you'll see in a cinema this year, when Ezra Miller's young Barry Allen takes the spaghetti, and then, I'm not going to do the noises in the mic because it's fucking disgusting, but then you just go, it's the fucking, see this young Barry character?
Yeah. This 5-year-old crayon eating.
I hate them.
Do you know the point where I realised I really dislike you greatly? Not you, Adam, but young Barry. The laugh.
Oh, the Seth Rogen laugh?
Is it a Seth? It's like Seth. If it's a Seth Rogen laugh, it's been played on like not just double speed, but like quadruple speed.
It's when he is like running at one point, and older Barry is like watching him run, and all he can hear is it's like Peter Griffin running around.
Yeah, I think I do think though that's been a choice where they've made it's kind of to show the development of Barry's character since through all he's been with the Justice League, etc. I just think they do play the younger Barry too much on the nose. Like
he's got fake disease.
Oh fuck! Do you know what? Sorry, not Barry. Sorry, Ezra Miller. But see, from the moment you first see, and it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. When you first see young Barry appearing, where he's just fucking walking about. And I can't do it because it's an audio medium, and the hand, I think has he got bin bags or something in his hand?
It's laundry,
and you're just like, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I fucking hate you, and I know that the director is kind of asking us to hate him, but it's just like, right, there's characters you're not meant to root for, and then there's characters you actively go, you know what? If he just got run over by a bus right now, I would happily enjoy this film a lot more.
Like there's playing young and naive, and then there's just playing a prick.
Yeah, he does. He plays full, and even the way he says "Mom," you're like, oh, fuck off.
It's even at the end whenever he takes his not evil turn, but you know he's a guy that thinks he can save the day.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't learned that lesson that older Barry has learned. And they kind of, are saying, I can do this. And then you see them as the Dark Flash.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a turn that you can believe, because 45 minutes ago, they were running about going with their trunks off.
Yeah.
Running through the city.
Stealing people's pizza.
Yeah, what the
bastard.
Hey, he stole that guy's pizza. It's probably if we were allowed to Spider-Man 2. Anyway, Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Let's go back to him. All teeth.
Yeah. All teeth. There's just a part of me. It's like in Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? Whenever you see them appearing, the older Ghostbusters, and you go, there's something just ingrained in me, nostalgia, where it's like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to manipulate me, and I go, all right, it puts a smile on my face. I will say I struggled to muster any enthusiasm for the film prior to its release. When you first see Michael Keaton, and he's kind of got the long hair, he looks more like Chris Christopherson, and I think they make a joke about that, and that's maybe why it's in my head. You go, okay, that's bad. Do you know, actually, pull it back, when we first see Wayne Manor, and it's the Wayne Manor we know from, I don't think they changed it for Forever and Batman. It was always that building, wasn't it? I know it was definitely for Batman and Batman Returns. I know they changed the car for the later ones with the Clooney and the Val Kilmer ones.
You gotta sell those toys.
Yeah, they gotta sell those toys. Kids need to buy their Batmobiles. My parents bought me. I have 3 Batmobiles. What can I say? I have the Keaton one, I have the Forever one, and it's like a silvery one. I actually think it might be a knockoff one. I don't know, but
well, they released a silvery one because you had the silvery bat symbol with the nips, and then Chris O'Dowd had his red silver
shiny. You're right. So there we go. So it wasn't a knockoff. Well done, Mum. But so there was when you first see the pullback, the camera fades. We haven't even mentioned we've got a Derry girl in the film, and she kind of does the "I'm Batman," and you're like, all right, okay, all right, so Saoirse, isn't it? Saoirse, yeah, Saoirse. All right, Saoirse, you know, her accent's not bad actually.
It's not bad.
It's not a bad accent, I have to say. And then she does the we've all been there with drinking the sody pop, and then it cuts to Wayne Manor, and you're like, all right, okay, I get this. And then we have the reveal of Keaton. He's not in the best of place. That's kind of like when you talk about the film being 4 hours long, or the original being 4 hours long, I'd maybe would love to see if they did a bit more with Keaton. Because it seems like he goes from being in I've locked out the rest of the world, I'm growing my hair, loving spaghetti though, and to just being Batman. Like he literally just like, there we go, I'm back.
The whole concept of him makes no sense. It's easy to say you don't like the movie because it's CGI or Ezra Miller and their crimes. You know, it's the small stuff. It's the Michael Keaton is Batman because he's wearing the suit, but I never believed that this is the Batman from the 89 or the Returns. You know, but then whenever they're talking about, oh, so why aren't you Batman anymore? He just says, there's no crime left in Gotham.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? What do you mean there's no more crime left? It's Gotham. Whenever you think of Gotham, especially in the 89 and Returns thing, it's dark, it's wet, and it's full of crime.
Like Lorne.
Sorry, Lorne.
Yeah. Are we though?
No, sorry, not. Speaking of crayon eaters.
Their favourite colour is grey.
It tastes like dirt.
Tastes like home. Can I just to throw that, because I mean they do something similar in the Nolan films though, because Gotham gets cleaned up, isn't it, between 2 and 3? Because they kind of talk about how Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon, he's like, oh, he was a war commissioner, he's not needed anymore, Gotham's at peace, and it's in a much better place now. But
the whole point of that setup in that movie is that because Batman and the police were turning a blind eye, everything else had a chance to, the bacteria had a chance to grow.
Yeah.
Where in this, it's like, completed them up. Don't need anymore because it's a completed crime.
The only other thing, watching it the second time round, it did pop into my head, for someone who hasn't been Batman for a long, long time, he gets back into being Batman with relative ease, other than one line where he goes, "This is gonna hurt."
Yeah.
But did you not even have, like, I know it's in the trailer, so there's all the suits, which did put a smile on my face, and we see the 89 costume there. Seeing Keaton in the Batman costume again, it did put a smile on my face. And I did actually quite like, there's that big action sequence. It's reminded me a lot of the sequence in Batman vs. Superman. The fight sequence with Keaton's Batman where he's kind of taking down people in Russia when they're trying to find Superman. I don't know if that's a deliberate nod to that or not, or it's just kind of the way it worked out, or maybe just the way my weird head connected the dots. It was kind of like, oh, he's quite similar in what he's doing with the Batfleck in that film. It did put a little smile on my face, but at the same time, I was like, for someone who hasn't been Batman, it's, you know, I think maybe what I wanted was going back to, I know it's as flawed as it is, The Dark Knight Rises, you know, that weird kind of, is it a knee thing?
Yes.
And it's like, right, you can barely move, you haven't been Batman for a while, but here, see this thing, and just hold your knee a wee bit tighter, you'll be good, mate.
So my favourite bit in that is, it's like, I have this knee thing that makes my knee stronger, and he boots a wall, and it destroys the wall, but they're never like, Bruce, you fucking broke your toes.
No, it protects him.
Oh, see?
It protects him. Do you not realise that? No.
Nah.
It's all a metaphor, man.
All right. Kicking the wall. Pink Floyd, bro.
Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted. Had they just got like this little knee thing. Here, Michael. What? You're good to go, mate.
See if he appeared in like the mechanical, like Batman suit from the Dark Knight Returns comic books. If he had returned in that and been like, I need this for extra protection, and then was fighting people, like it would have made sense when he's fighting the Kryptonians at the end.
Yeah.
That he's in this fucking like mech outfit and is beating the fuck out of people. And he still could have had your cake and eaten it with like, maybe at the start he's in the old 89 outfit, and you know, because he actually gets shot at one point, which I thought was like interesting because he puts his hand down and he's bleeding, and I was like, oh, so he's not fucking immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
He's not Highlander, babe.
There can be only one.
There can only be one.
But there's 3 of them in this.
Yeah. And far too many movies.
And they should have cut their heads off.
Yeah. Although I have a soft spot for 2 just for how terrible it is. Just for how completely shit Highlander 2 is. I kind of love it.
Are they still doing that remake with Henry Cavill?
I don't know.
Henry, let us know.
I think he's just getting dropped from everything. He's signing up and it's like, I'm going to move away from this. I'm going to give up on the Warhammer project. I'm going to make the Highlander movie. It's been cancelled. Oh, man. I feel gutted because you know what? Someone's going to offer Henry the Bond job. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to move away from this. And actually, no, we're going to go a different way.
Did you see he came out yesterday and was like, well, whenever this podcast drops. But he came out.
That's down to when I can be arsed to edit. Yeah.
He came out 4 months ago and said that.
6. You're being kind.
That he was actually going to play Bond, but they gave it to Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I knew that before because they were going to go in a much, much younger direction before.
And all I could think about was Cavill in that, what do you call it, Hellraiser movie?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Hellraiser 7 or whatever, where he's like playing like a real creep. And then he went, that's our Bond.
Do you know what? I never would have thought of, I know we're going off in tangents. We're kind of still sticking to it. Because it's been my gripe with Henry Cavill that he's never really been allowed to shine as Superman. He's been, it comes back, you mentioned you were quite positive about the Snyder stuff. I don't like Snyder's interpretation of Superman because he's someone that's burdened by being Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to be the Christopher Reeves Superman who, he's here to help, but it's not like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, but, you know, what if people don't like me? You're like, oh, fuck up. Just be Superman. Just be this beacon of hope instead of this fucking mean and moody Superman. And when you see him then in like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or even Mission Impossible, you go, right, when you see him being interviewed, I know I've ranted about this before, when you see him being interviewed or you see him in other roles, you go, he is actually quite a charismatic presence.
Yeah.
And you can see why people would be drawn to him to play Superman, but then when they then do it, they go, well, you've got to Batmanify him. You've got to make him mean and moody because kids don't want, the Christopher Reeve Superman. And I would completely disagree with that. And although it's a very flawed shit film, but the original cut of Justice League does try a little bit to kind of give us a Superman that's
has a mustache.
Has a terrible mustache that's been digitally removed, but also, did I smell bad before? You're like, oh, fuck up, Henry. Just have fun with the Superman role. Which brings us nicely, you've mentioned Keaton, a big part of this. So there is a lot of things that are contrived about the narrative. Mm-hmm. And I remember before, like, what Terminator film was it? I think it was Terminator Genesis, where they do the thing, right, we're going to go back in time, back to the 80s, and you're like, okay, that's quite a clever idea, and you're going to do a Back to the Future Part 2 take on the first film where all that's happening, but all this is going to be happening at the same time. You go, oh, that's actually quite clever. And within about 10 minutes ago, actually, it's probably going to cost us way too much money. We're going to go back to the future, no pun intended.
Marty.
And it's your kids, Marty.
it's your butchery, Marty. You're selling off meat.
Oh, Marty. But they go back to the future, no pun intended, and then they give this false like countdown. It's like, right, you've only got like 3-4 hours to stop this from happening. It's like, if you have time travel, go back to like 6 months before that and just take your time, plan out your operation and do it enthusiastically. It's the sense that, so they come back here, and it's the night that Barry gets his powers. And I know they kind of address this very loosely in the finale when we see the reveal of the Dark Flash. But then it's also the arrival of Zod at the same time. So it felt a little bit contrived in that sense that, so if this happens, Barry's going to not get his powers, so it means he can't go back in time, blah, 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 and he will never do this and do that and never be able to save X, Y, Z. And then it's also, oh, by the way, Zod's arriving. You're like, all right, okay, we've got to find Superman. They go hunting for Batman because there is no metahumans anymore. Although I did quite laugh at the Aquaman, the little Aquaman joke. It's like he phones his dad.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Isn't she a goddess? And just pans over. It's like, bit of body shaming, I'm not going to say, but he's just like, fuck you. Puts the phone down. We've no Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
We've no Wonder Woman. Although Wonder Woman does make an appearance at the very, very start. We haven't even really mentioned Batfleck, because I know Ben Affleck has kind of said that he felt like he got Batman.
I don't know what he was all about.
I think it's just a case of like, I'm done. But I think he's coming back for Aquaman 2. He's listed in the credits for Aquaman 2. It might be a really pointless post-credit sting.
Did you hear the news yesterday of what he's coming back for?
No.
He's playing Daredevil at the new Deadpool movie.
I'm up for that.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm up for that. I'm on board for that. But, sorry, where was I going? So Batfleck. Haven't even mentioned Batfleck.
Can I say the opening sequence with Batfleck is probably the best Batman in the DCEU, like the best scene.
Yeah.
When he's like chasing them down on the bike and stuff and on the bridge.
And I like the fact that it's not a black suit.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like, it's more comic accurate.
Yeah.
Although the mask, look like in the scene where they're all on the bridge and it's Gal Gadot, and then again, I'm going to come back. This was another thing I had an issue with the Flash, when they have with the lasso of truth, and Gal Gadot appears, and they're like holding the lasso, and it's like, I use my money to compensate for my emotional trauma. I know what sex is, I just haven't had it. All that kind of stuff. I will say the Flash at times far too often feels the need. It's like, let's throw a little gag in, let's throw a little joke, and it's not that I don't mind a joke, but at just that point where it's like, right, you're throwing far too many gags in here, particularly with younger Barry.
Peter.
But the mask for Affleck looks terrible in that sequence. It looks fine when he's driving, and coming back to CGI. Like, can we not just have coming back? I know I am someone who loves the Nolan take on Batman. I know there's people that don't like that, and I've said this before on the TV show, previous pods. Pre-pandemic, I'd kind of moved away from Keaton, and Keaton was no longer my Batman, and I was kind of more like what Nolan did with the Cape Crusader. Adored it. For me, it felt, I know he was trying to make it ultra realistic, and just loved it. During the pandemic, went back, watched the Burton films, and fell back in love with Keaton's Batman and his lack of a chin. But something as simple as, you're talking about the best sequence, even when he's on the bike, it's a CGI cloak.
Yeah.
And you go back to what Nolan just had a guy he had the guy with the cloak properly, and you seen it, and it just looked real. I didn't notice it the first time, but second time when I saw it, I was like, right, could you not have just done a proper guy on a bike with a cloak? It just felt very CGI heavy, but I would agree with you, it's the best we've seen, particularly of Batfleck in action. It's just that the mask, when you see him up close, when they're on that bridge at the end, it looks terrible.
It's like, whenever somebody draws on their eyebrows, and then you don't know if they're shocked or if they're happy. Yeah, his cowl has a frown.
Do you know what, Kyle? Look, and I'm not saying this as disrespect, because I know you're someone that you've cosplay, because you cosplay as Star-Lord. Mm-hmm. It looked like a cosplay costume rather than the authentic Batman costume. Actually, tangent upon tangent, back to the Nolan verse. When the guys in Dark Knight are all kind of dressed up as Batman, that's what it looks like.
I don't wear hockey pads. I was thinking about this last night when I was in bed.
Man in leather.
I was thinking, fuck, I could go beat need some crayons right now.
I've had them all.
I'm going to go make some brown crayons if you get me. I was thinking, I miss Christian Bale's lisp when he's Batman. What an idea for a man. Like, I know he put on like the voice, but people forget that he also puts on a lisp because he doesn't have a lisp whenever he is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So whenever they're like, no way that could be Bruce Wayne, because fucking Batman's like, oh wait guys, what's that? I'm Batman. I've come to collect my sausages, Molly.
What will do it? Okay, so next time, Duka.
What have you done? There's 2 boats. You got that's my Heath Ledger. There's 2 boats, and you gotta pick a boat, Batman. Do you remember when he punches a dog? Fuck a Dark Knight's class. Don't know who's good. Supergirl. Look at me trying to keep things on track. Usually I'm the tangent man.
I'm the one who's like, let's just spend more time talking about Nolan. Things I like. Yes, do you know what? See with Supergirl, I think it's a waste. Because I think she's... The actress who played... I have it in front of me. Sasha Calle. I think she's fine as Supergirl.
Yeah.
But they just threw a lot in. And I was watching when the second time I watched it, I came away and I was thinking, would it not have just been simpler just to have done a gender-swapped Superman? And she's Superman and she's just a girl. Instead of having it as Supergirl.
I know what you mean, but then people probably would have just been like, why didn't you just do Supergirl? You know, like when the history's already there, it's kind of...
The history's there, but you've kind of retooled it anyway. You've retooled it anyway, and if you can't even... Because I don't think... Is Supergirl in Flashpoint? I don't think so.
Not that I remember.
I don't think so. You've already changed that comic book story, because it's not Thomas Wayne anymore, it's Michael Keaton. And it probably would have been too much of a leap to have Keaton play Thomas Wayne, because he is Batman. Pardon me as I burp as I say that. He is Batman. He is, oh, pardon me. So, it probably would have been too much of a leap to have Keaton play Thomas Wayne. Do you know what part of me would have loved if you've got one of the actors who played Thomas Wayne back?
Well, you had Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
You did.
So, but then he's not a box office pull.
No. And you also have Ken Barlow's son, who I've interviewed. I apologize, I forget his name, which is very, very terrible. But Ken Barlow's son
something
is...
Roach?
Yeah. Because he's in Mandy. Is it J. Roach?
Yeah, I think it is J. Roach.
J. Roach. He's Thomas Wayne in... We're just obsessed with the Nolan films. He's the Thomas Wayne in that, because I remember...
So he is.
Yeah, because I remember interviewing him. He was at a film at Edinburgh Film Festival, and I wasn't a massive fan of the film, so we talked for about 5 minutes about that, and I had 15 minutes with him, and I was like... And it was about the time Jeffrey Dean Morgan had just been announced as the new Thomas Wayne, and I was we had this whole kind of talk about how different actors have played that role.
Sorry. It's just like, you were like the film shade. But anyway, how's your mad Adri? You're like, that's just the character I play. You're like, is Blanchard?
I haven't seen her for a bit. No, I didn't. I am, believe it or not, listeners, when I do interviews, I'm not going to say professional, semi-professional. So I'll usually talk about something, and we'll talk a wee bit with the film, and I'll go look, I've only got a limited time here. I've just got to talk to you about this as well. So I was like, it was around the time, how long ago it was, Batman versus Superman had just been released, and there was a new Thomas Wayne. And I was just like, oh, of course you're Thomas Wayne. And it was quite awkward because I was also in the room with one of the Sutherlands, not Donald or Kiefer, but this is not going to make the cut. But
it is. It's going to stay in.
It's not going to make the cut because I can't remember his name, because he was, I can't remember what he was, but he's a half brother, because Donald Sutherland got about a wee bit.
Oh?
He was a half brother to Kiefer.
I've seen Donald Sutherland's arsehole. Do you ever see fucking Don't Look Now.
Yeah.
And you see up his ring piece.
We've all seen that.
Keep it in, keep it in, keep us in.
Don't mention the midget. Don't mention the midget. Don't say it in. But yeah, I does not make the call. I mentioned it's like because it was around the time. Remember the way Kiefer has a band?
Yeah.
And Kiefer played Portrush a couple of years ago. Kiefer's band played Portrush, and I was just like, oh, talking about the family, because we'd kind of went off in this digression, and I was like, this other guy was just like, I've only spoke to you for like a couple of minutes about the roles and this, that, and other. And I was like, oh yeah, talking about family. Your brother Kiefer, he's I think I said your half brother Kiefer. He's playing Portrush this weekend. He's in Northern Ireland. He's like, we don't really talk. And you're like, oh
no.
Like, okay, yeah, that'll not make the cut. So yes, I don't think anyone would have ever accepted Keaton as Thomas Wayne. Part of me would love to see some of the other actors coming back, but I don't know. But I think, and I know it's probably me being me, I think it would have just been easier to do a gender swapped Superman, and you're kind of leaning in. You could have leaned into, isn't it Iron Sun, Red Sun?
Red Sun, yeah.
Where we have the kind of what happened if Superman had been fallen into
Russia.
And you could have done with that, and I think it would have avoided a lot of explanation, because there's not a lot for that character. She's just kind of thrown in the final act. We're in spoilers, aren't we? Literally to die.
Yeah, it's the thing where I think the movie falls apart, and it all starts with young Barry getting their powers. The movie just becomes like contrived because the plot
needs it to be.
So it's like older Barry loses their powers. So now we have to have scenes where the young Barry can only use his, and fucking they have to go to Russia to get Superman, and then they are just there so they can lift Barry up until the thing. It all just becomes. It's like and then. It's not because
it's like that bit in Dude, Where's My Car? And then
it's not like this happens because this happened. This happens because this happened. It's
literally like in the writer's room. How do we get from A to Z? Boom, boom, boom. Let's throw in a few references. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That was the worst.
How much do you weigh? You're like, part of me likes them, and I actually did like the little Joker bag.
Did you?
I did. It was just like, okay, I get that. And again, it's come back to that thing about nostalgia. You can't get away from it. Seeing the Batmobile. And that wee bastard Barry just sleeping in it and treating it like shit.
I know.
Bastard.
Eating his twinks.
It is. I was gutted we didn't get to see the Batmobile in action. I would have liked that. We end up seeing the Batwing.
Can I tell you a story about nostalgia?
Do I need to do the tangent thing?
We've went on so many tangents that who knows. So I went and seen this with my lovely girlfriend. Right. And while we were watching...
Do you want to say hello to her? I know she listens.
She doesn't.
She listened once.
I think,
is it her mum listens?
Her mum listens, yeah. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
We were watching the movie, and the whole like Batfleck sequence happened at the start. Then Ben Affleck turns up in his car to talk to Barry, and my girlfriend Heidi said, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's Batman." And she went, "All right. Has he played Batman before?" I was like, "For like the last 10 years, yeah." "Oh, okay." Film goes on more. Michael Keaton appears. "Who's that?" I says, "That's Batman." She goes, "Ben Affleck?" And I says, "No, Michael Keaton. He played him in the 80s. All right. Film goes on a wee bit more. Car door opens. Clooney walks out. Just stone faced, just watching him.
Do you know what I loved actually in that one sequence? See when he got out of the car, if all the Nespresso just fell out.
He's clearly off the set. Or Sean Deppardou's in the passenger seat. His wee martini. Stone faced, right? Because we have watched Batman and Robin multiple times together because it's, you can sit and be like, isn't this silly? Later on that night, I was like, did you get a wee giggle out of Clooney being the new Batman? She was like, when did he turn up? And I says, at the end. She says, I thought that was Michael Keaton.
So who's her Batman?
I
Val
don't-
Kilmer, clearly.
Well, Val Kilmer's my Batman.
Yeah.
But they're just like, that's your general. That's what I'm saying about the Nicolas Cage moment as well. General audiences, she's just like the crux of a general audience. She likes DC movies. She loves Aquaman. She loves Shazam.
Is that because she finds Jason Momoa Dreamboat?
I don't think she does. I think she finds her own. She just loves water.
Okay.
Get it up, huh?
We're not going to Waterworld again.
So whenever these people turn up, and even like
Does she love Waterworld with Kevin Costner?
she's never watched it, but I bet you tenner she would love it. I bet you any money.
Did you see the cogs working in my head
Yeah.
there? Kind of had a little sip of coffee and went, Waterworld.
Pa Kent. Who's that?
Deep Blue Sea.
We have watched Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Sharknado was on Joe Bob Briggs last night. We'll be watching that later on. But like as a general audience rule, I think this maybe is why the movie's not making much money. People went and seen Spider-Man because they knew Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were possibly going to turn up. In this, you had all of the big money shots in the trailer of people that you would get nostalgic for if you liked that thing. And even stuff like the Nicolas Cage Superman. See if they had done, instead of Supergirl, Nicolas Cage's Superman. I bet you this movie would have done double what it's made already. Because people would have been like, I'll fucking watch that.
You're right.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas they bring in this new Supergirl and then go, actually, you know what? We're not going to be using you anymore.
Yeah, because they have a new Supergirl lined up already, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
This is why I make the point. I said it would have been easier just to have it as a gender swap Superman, and then you know that universe is, or that world is being destroyed by the end of the film. So it's like, right, you can move on.
yeah.
To an extent. I know it doesn't really make sense because I know Superman does stop Zod in Man of Steel. I don't know. It's just, I was kind of thinking in my head, going, it's a bit of a waste. Come back to what you were saying. It's a bit of a waste of that character to throw her in and to basically have a more emo kind of version of Supergirl than what we've seen before, and have her as a one and done. You're never really going to be seen ever again.
And I would like to see her again. I thought she's never given anything where I could be like, she's quite good. But in the suit, the look she has, I could see her in a better project and still be like, yeah, I like her. You know what I mean? There's nothing objectively.
There's nothing bad about her performance. I just think her character is wasted in this. It makes sense because the plot has said, well, we'll bring Zod back. And the catalyst for this is when Zod arrived in Man of Steel, that forced Superman to reveal himself.
Yeah.
Okay, get you.
Got his cock out.
Do you know what it stands for? Hope.
Schlong.
It makes sense for that. It's like, right, we've got all these ideas. I just think, when I watched it the second time for my sins, I went, it would have been easier to have her as a gender swap Superman. Or like you said, nothing wrong with the Supergirl character, but probably it would have been more fan service to have Nick Cage. But whether or not they could have got Cage.
That man will do anything. You're telling me that they couldn't have given Nicolas Cage $100 million and he wouldn't have appeared as Superman, a dream role that he's wanted to do for the last 20 years. And I think it is sad that that's going to be it for him, potentially, other than maybe somebody else does something where they do another little kind of, multiverse. But I want to come back to the point you talked about with Spider-Man No Way Home. I think the main difference was that didn't feel like it was the end of something, or, you know, the last through little splutters before something ends. That was kind of the first real film that I think wasn't Spider-Man No Way Home after Doctor Strange? Yes. No, it was before Doctor Strange 2.
No, sorry. I was what I meant, sorry. It was released before Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
So it was the first real film that kind of said, right, I know Loki had done it. I don't think there was anything else that really dabbled with the multiverse.
It was the first movie to be like, here's people you've seen before that we know you like.
Yeah, but I'm coming back. It's this is the way Marvel is going forward with the multiverse. Let's see it. This is what we're doing. So it didn't feel like the end of something. It felt like this is the start of something. Like I like No Way Home. I know there's people like Jonathan Cardwell who, I don't know whether Jonathan listens or not, but I know on Twitter and on his reviews, he was not a fan of that film. I liked it, and I put my hands out there and say it was nostalgia was playing a role, but also little things like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in that film got a little bit of redemption. But we're not here to talk about that film. But come back to that point, that felt like the start of something new. This, however, as much as they're trying to retool it with this new DC universe, where they've talked about, the Flash, it could be used for the start of something, this new launch pad for this. Like, it's not really. It's wrapping everything up. As I come back, you have a new Superman you're announcing, you have a new Batman you're yet to announce. Had they said, right, yeah, you know what, Clooney's going to be our Batman going forward, I'd have had reservations, like how big are the nips going to be this time? But
big pepperoni boys.
I'll get you. That would have been interesting. Or had they announced, used that, because apparently, according to the director, that sequence was only filmed a couple of months ago because it wasn't shown at CinemaCon.
Yeah.
Because they weren't certain of it. Originally, I think the ending was going to be Keaton and Supergirl showing up.
With Batfleck.
Yes, that was going to be the finale for that. But they retooled it, and you're like, well, if you're going to do that, have it. That's never going to go anywhere. And I know there's people like Gavin Moriarty loves, like in the Deadpool movies, where they do the post-credit scenes, and they mean fuck all. They're not worried about what's going to go on in this universe or that universe. They're there for fun. But that's having Clooney come back. It's never going to go anywhere, really.
It's the perfect encapsulation of the DCEU in that final scene. It ends on a dud cameo with a shit callback to a joke from 2 hours before. And then you have to sit through a credit sequence with terrible CGI while OK Go plays. And you're like, what year is it? And
then a post-credit sting that is pointless.
It's so bad. Like,
I don't know why. My lovely wife said they always have post-credit stings. Let's sit and wait. And you're like, okay, we need to pee. And that's it. It's basically him and Jason Momoa, and Jason Momoa's pissed as a fart. And like your lovely girlfriend just sees a puddle, has to get into it.
Loves water.
And that's it. That's it. And you're literally going, that, what?
Like, imagine your favorite character was Aquaman, right? You fucking love Aquaman. And then now the last time you'll see them, because the movie's not coming out, the second one, the last time you see him, he's just fucking face down in a
face
ditch.
Down in a puddle.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, imagine Endgame ended with Captain America just like killed himself. You're like, oh, cool.
Do you know, at least, if you're a fan of Gal Gadot, I mean, at least this is a better way for her to go out. And all that it is, compared to what it is in Shazam, where it's like, I just appear and I fix everything, and that's it. That's my famous Gal Gadot impression. I don't know. I mean, I know they've kind of said it's up in limbo whether or not they're going to retool those or not. But it to me, it wouldn't make sense. But then, who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? I don't know. It's like we've got another Joker movie coming that's not connected to anything. We have another Batman movie that's connected to its own universe. The Joker film's connected to its own universe. I wouldn't be surprised in Joker 2, just for the sheer crack. I'm just thinking with, maybe, depends how many years have went by, if they have another Batman, or kind of like the Gotham shit Batman that no one really liked. I didn't like Gotham, I'm sorry, as a series.
I love Gotham.
And the revelation or the reveal at the end of the Batman, it's like, that's up there for me in shitness with the reveal of Superman in Smallville. It's like, No, you're all right. You didn't need to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if a Batman in that, or at least at the early stages of his Batmanification. And then you're going to have another Batman with The Brave and the Bold, which is a series in the Grant Morrison that wrote that. I'm kind of intrigued by using that as a launch pad. An older Batman with a Robin, and that Robin will be his son, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's Damian Wayne.
Yeah. So intrigued by what they're going to do there, but I don't know. I come back to my point. I know we will wrap things. I didn't hate this film. But it's that sense, coming back to Gavin Moriarty, don't waste my time. And I know it's my own time. I've made that choice. I've spent that tenner to go see the film, not once, but twice. Usually I criticize you for that point. But it's like, right, okay. Where does this leave us going forward? I mean, like at the end of Shazam, I went to see Shazam purely because we were going to talk about it in the TV show. And I quite liked the first film. That kind of going back to our Tom Hanks kind of let's go big theory. I like the first Shazam. Shazam, Fury of the Gods had a few moments, but ultimately it's like, but what? I mean, really, you're not going to be going forward within the universe. Then you have The Flash, that the marketing men and women and James Gunn have been kind of retooling, because this has been going on, I think, from 99. They've been talking about making a Flash movie for quite some time.
Yeah.
It was retooled into the DCU, and now it's kind of, it's part of the Snyderverse, but that's coming to an end. So I'm not surprised it's not finding an audience at the box office, because people are going, well, why would I spend money for something that probably in a couple of months I could watch at home, when the new DCU, whatever they're going to call it, is starting, and that might be a reason to come into the cinema. Probably comic book movie fatigue is setting in to a certain degree as well.
It's also just movie fatigue. Because like every week a blockbuster has been coming out this year. We've got Indiana Jones coming up, and Barbie, Oppenheimer, Elemental has been doing shit in America.
Well, I know they've, because we were talking about that in the TV show a couple of weeks ago, where we said like the Pixar are blaming Disney Plus for that, because they say people became accustomed to seeing Pixar films on their streaming service. It's not cheap to go to the cinema. When I went to see The Flash, it cost me about, before we even got to the copious amounts of shite, well, usually a wee small tub of pick and mix and a wee bottle of water. So that's how I like to rock and roll, kids. But at least 30 quid. Yeah. So you imagine if you're a young family, there's maybe the guts of maybe 50, 60 quid to maybe go to the cinema. By the time you've got everything, and it's like, I want this and I want that. It's like, all right, but what do the kids want, Dad? But they've kind of said, well, they know that that's going to be on streaming, so they can watch it at home.
Yeah.
But yet you have the like Super Mario Brothers making all the money.
Yeah. And that's Super Mario, not the mark of quality, but marketed well. You can't even be like, well, it's a recognizable character, because all of these franchises are recognizable characters. There doesn't seem to be a science at the moment to how to make these movies profitable. And I think that's where studios are kind of panicking at the minute, because they just don't know what they're doing. It's weird. It's like Marvel had Guardians and it made money, and they probably thought, oh good, that's us back on track. But
here's hoping for the Marvels.
The Marvels, which if you read online, people are like, I hate Captain Marvel. Movie made fucking $1 billion.
Yeah. I hate Captain Marvel because she's got a vagina.
She's probably going to bleed all over the fucking space.
Do you know what's going to be even worse now? There's 3 vaginas in this film. That's disgusting.
Imagine the
how could you rely on 3 women to save the world when what if they're all in the blob?
They may all fucking sync up. That's us making fun of.
Yes, I don't feel like that. I quite like Captain Marvel up until the point that is it. I'm just a girl.
Yeah,
which didn't work
because you hate women.
Yeah, because women know your place. I know. I just was like, that song doesn't work to that action sequence.
Yeah,
and I don't know, because I remember talking at the time, I think it was Mark McGoldrick, and I kind of said, like, I don't know what I would put in place. But I'm just a girl. They're trying to replicate the end of Buffy.
Yeah,
where everyone has the power and everybody's strong, but the use of I'm just a girl didn't work.
No.
But I thought Captain Marvel was fun. I'm intrigued by the Marvels.
It looks good.
I think some of the CGI again looks a little bit ropey, but I don't know. It could be fun. I hope it's fun.
But this is a thing too, going back to me saying marketing on movies. They're marketing this movie off, hoping that you've watched 2 separate Disney Plus TV shows, plus a movie that apparently people don't like, even though it made...
It's like people who say they don't like you too, but yet they make a lot of money in their tickets when they play like anywhere locally. They usually sell out in seconds.
Yeah, like...
I fucking hate you too. Do you know what? I got 8 tickets just to go fucking prove how much I fucking hate them.
You hate Coldplay? Let me stick on yellow and see if you don't sing along to this.
Yeah.
Is this kind of wrap it up on the Flash?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, how much can you say about a movie that is just crumbling in front of your eyes?
With really bad CGI.
Yeah, they could have went really weird with this. You know what I mean? Barry...
Can I actually I want to throw off a digression, right? Because, and I know we're going to wrap things up, but I want to compare, because I was talking about this with Aaron Flanagan, and listeners, you can't see this, but I'm pointing at Adam really vigorously here. I kind of said, we had Aaron on the TV show, we were talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I said, and I know I got a bit of flack off it online, not a lot, but a couple of people kind of blah, 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 you're talking shite, Jim. I'm just used to that. Thanks, Mum. But I said that I think the concept of the multiverse better suits animation, because you can do whatever you want and you have no worries about bad CGI with animation. I know there has been a bit of talk recently about some of the animators involved and across the multiverse, kind of saying that we're under pressure to deliver things to the timetable for the project for Sony. I know a lot of visual effects artists have been talking that is not just confined to animation. That has been a lot talk about the pressures that they're under recently to develop within a timescale.
As a quote from a visual effect artist that worked on The Flash, this was a quote from yesterday: "If it looked like it was made in under a week, it's probably because it was." That's a direct quote.
Yeah, there we go. I think animation suits the multiverse, but also the core idea at the heart of Flash about kind of progressing. And there is, coming back, we've been quite critical. I know we've talked a little bit about Batfleck. There is that sequence where Affleck's talking about the scars that we have, and it defines us, doesn't make we're broken. It just, I can't remember the quote for quote. I've seen the fucking film twice, but it's like we have these scars. It doesn't make us broken. It just makes us who we are. Mm-hmm. And why would you want to change that? And Keaton kind of does a similar line as well about, not wanting to change the past. I'll also, with both of them going, that would be really stupid, Barry. That would be a really stupid thing to do. But they talk about almost the idea of canon points. And Across the Multiverse is doing something similar. I don't want to spoil that. I know we're going to have Evie Henry a couple of weeks' time. We're going to be talking about that film. But
can I throw my 2 cents in?
Yeah, go for it.
Not a very good film.
Oh, hot take.
I don't believe that many Peter Parkers would agree to let people die. And people were like, but Miguel's handpicking. They've showed us Peter Parkers that we know. PlayStation 4, fucking, Spectacular Spider-Man.
T-Rex Spider-Man.
T-Rex Spider-Man, my favourite. His Kellen Fent.
Scarlet Spider, who's my favourite.
Oh, but in the movie they fucking...
No, but
so annoying.
It's Andy Samberg though, so I'll always give it a free pass.
And nobody's like, "Oh, look at me flex!" Like, stop ruining the characters. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
Okay, but I think Across the Multiverse handles and explaining the idea of canon points and key points that are character defining much better than The Flash does.
Yes, because because it's like, why does Barry's mom have to die? And it's like, in the Flashpoint comics, it's because, the reverse Flash does it. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this, it's kind of like, his mom is just dead, and you're like, what? Who killed her? Can
I say, and again, we've criticized a lot of things. I think the film, that sequence where he goes back, and it's all about, the tin of tomatoes has to change. At the start of the film, the old catalyst is he goes back and moves the tomatoes so his mum won't forget them, so they won't have to leave the house. I don't think it would have. I do wonder, because would it have just meant that if someone broke into the house, his dad would have been there as well to help defend things? That's really it. I mean, it doesn't really stop said intruder or whatever happens if in this version of the Flash for his mum. I know his mum gets stabbed, but it's never really revealed who.
Do you think there's a scene where? Do you
Mike
think
Keaton did it?
Bitch. Do you think there's a scene where
Val Kilmer. But
Barry, Val Kilmer's little voice box, I'm going to stab you now. Do you think there's a scene where Barry had to travel back in time and stab his own mother, and the studio went, "That's too dark"?
I don't think so. Probably the director's the first person to speak to, but I did actually find that little sequence when he goes back and he's just taking the tomatoes out. I find that, I mean, as with everything that's going on with Ezra Miller, I did adore them in We Need to Talk About Kevin. His mannerisms and his persona suited that role. I've never really bought him as the Flash. I think it's because I've always been terrified of him ever since We Need to Talk About Kevin. But in that little scene there, I thought, it's like, okay, I can...
It's what I wrote in my notes. The movie has one good scene, and it's that end scene with them and their mother. I think it's well acted between the two of them. There's genuine emotion in it. It's played really well. You know, everything just in that scene works. And for all of the slack that the movie gets, Andy Muschietti is, you know, he came into a broken house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why they gave him the Batman job, because they went, look, you can work under the immense amount of pressure with an actor who is notoriously hard to work with and deliver a movie. Quality doesn't matter. It's out in the cinemas.
It's not a mess of a film. I think that's key. I don't think it's a mess. I don't think it's like, I have watched worse films this year. I will watch better films. It's for me, it's a 3-star. It's a 3-star. It's not terrible. It's not fine. It exists. It's there. Come back to that idea of what we do with the podcast. Is it more than pixels on a screen? Probably not.
No.
There's nothing. There's bits where it dabbles and feels the need to kind of, or not feels the need, but I've talked about this where you get frustrated with the film where it hovers about little threads and you go, that would be interesting if you did that. Oh, I'd like it if you tried to do that. But no, it's let's go off to the desert. Let's go off to the desert and have a great big over-the-top sequence with average CGI, a death for Keaton's Batman that for me just felt so anticlimactic. Do you know
when he dies and he travels back in time?
Yeah.
So then he lives. See when he dies and he just doesn't say a word and just flies straight into the spaceship.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, imagine that's your hero.
Yeah.
From the fucking 89, and he just...
Your girlfriend's going to see Batman.
Who's he? Well, I know we're fucking going on here, but there's one scene that I laughed at. Not laughed at, but just was like, there's clearly more here, but you didn't do anything with it. There's a scene where Barry's like, I was there when Zod attacked Metropolis.
Yeah.
And I was able to save a kid, but wasn't able to save his father. And then whenever it shows you that scene again, it shows you the kid and the father again thing. And then in my mind, I was like, oh, this time he's going to save both people. It's going to at least cut back to them where they'll be like,
no, they're both dead.
Yeah, but I guess
They're both dead.
He's like, I saved a kid, but in this universe, fuck him.
Yeah, those again are little things that you go, come back to that. I think Andy Muschietti, he's delivered under extreme pressure a pretty semi-coherent film that I think is flawed. I think it's working at its best when it doesn't feel the need to go over the top with action and, you know, the crash, bang, wallop, rinse, repeat type of approach. When it's interestingly, for a long part of the film, there's no real villain.
No.
I know Zod's there. And I know Michael Shannon made a whole big thing saying, I needed to get special permission from Zack Snyder to come back. Did you?
Yeah.
Did they maybe just go, we'll add another wee zero there? Because he comes back and there's not really a lot for him to do. But he's not there to be the main villain.
No.
Because the main villain ultimately is...
Time.
This is what you said. It was very profound. I was waiting for you to go into like somehow like a full rendition of Hans Zimmer's Time. I don't know why I went high pitched. Doom, doom. No, I can't do him.
Fuck, imagine Nolan did a Flash movie. Don't know, because he like messes about with time in
He'd love that.
Inception. I don't think he would be able to wrap his head around it.
I think he would.
I know, but he would be like, it's profound that he's running through time. I don't know why he's not German. Is it Cillian Murphy?
We have ways of making you go back in time.
Christopher Walken, what are you doing here?
This is not Christopher Walken. This is Chris Nolan.
Just to announce, we have our special director for The King of Castle Street, Nolan. He's shooting in IMAX.
This is really going to push that 50 pounds. We have some cast. I think we should wrap things up. So coming back, I've already answered my own question. Sadly, I don't think this is more than pixels on a screen. There are moments in The Flash that are utter shite.
Yep.
With the babies. I come back because you've mentioned the baby stuff, I think's terribly ill-judged at the start. Even to the point where they come back and do the call back to over the closing credits. And you go, why?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Terry in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Why? Why do you think that's so funny? Or why do you think that's so holding such a big candle to it? The Keaton stuff is fine. You could have probably got him to say fucking anything and it'd been like, oh, it's Keaton, it's Batman, it's amazing, it's fucking great. Oh, there he says the line. He fucking says the line. You want to get nuts? Aye, let's get nuts. Supergirl, I'm going to hold my hands. I'm going to put my cards out and say, I think it would have been better with a gender swap Supergirl. Gender swap Superman. Instead of trying to retool it and bring that character in. But anyway, that's just me. It's fine. Would I recommend it? If someone's listening to this, hasn't seen it, thinking of going to the cinema tonight, you'll have worse trips to the cinema. There's probably, by the time this is out, there'll be better films in cinema to go see. But I enjoyed it more than the Snyder stuff because it's not metahumans being burdened by their power and being treated like gods. And I just don't like Zack Snyder's films. Sorry. At least there's that tone. Coming back to tangent, it's like the recent Transformers movie. I think it's perfectly fine. Robots smashy, crashy into each other. But when you take out all the leery, Michael Bay, sexualized stuff, hypersexualized stuff for teenage boys, you get a very boring blockbuster. Yeah. So when you take out all the stuff that some people go, I know there's fans, I know like James Oliver is a huge fan of the Zack Snyder films. You've hinted that you might be a fan as well. And they go, oh, it's just amazing. And what he did with those characters, bullshit. Bullshit. He couldn't tell. He took 4 hours to tell a story for the Justice League. Nah. Fuck off, Zack. Sorry. When you take off all that away and get a very generic blockbuster, you get something that's just a 3-star. It's still a recommendation, but it's 3 stars. It's meh. Yeah. So coming back to you, and you've already answered this, I think, earlier on. It's not more than pixels on a screen for you.
When you can see the specific pixels on the screen, you're like, nah, this isn't more than pixels on a screen. Like, if this is the death of the Zack Snyder universe,
it's not. There's going to be Aquaman 2.
That's not coming out. It's like, goodbye. I don't care. If you were to talk about it in comic book runs, it's like, I enjoyed it while it was running, but now that there's something new on the horizon, there's a new writer, there's a new artist, I'm like, oh, thank God, because I want my...
I can't wait to see another Thomas Wayne get minced.
I can't wait to see James Gunn's Superman. I just want to see a Superman that fucking smiles. That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all I want, Jim.
I want a Superman where it's not a burden to be Superman. I don't want to go down that rant again, because I want a Superman that's upbeat and enthusiastic and not fucking burdened by being Superman. And it's not a fucking burden. Like, there's one key, I've said this, I'm not going to go off and rant now. There's one key moment, I think it's Batman versus Superman, where he's saving people from a flood.
Yes.
And he's looking down and he's almost cast as a villain. Because if you took that scene completely out of context, you would look and say, oh, he's caused this.
Mm.
And he's looking down going, yeah, you need me, bitches.
Aye.
He's meant to be Superman. He's meant to be, here to, you're meant to be glad to see him and not going, oh, fuck, there's that old moody bastard again.
Snyder kind of casts those, heroes as gods.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And I know they are, compared to like Marvel, like they are on a god level of powers. But that's kind of what makes Superman good. He has all these powers. He could destroy the world, but he doesn't because he's good at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Snyder's Superman, as much as I like Man of Steel, Jim, you'll never believe, didn't like it when I first saw
12 times.
12 times in a fucking Blu-ray release. I've come around to it, but I won't.
I don't think it's a terrible film. I've said this before. We needed a Man of Steel 2 before we got to Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
And it shows you the amount of faith this has turned into. We all have to wrap this up. It shows you the amount of faith that Snyder and DC, the execs at Warner Brothers had with Superman. It's like, right, we'll do Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, he dies.
Yeah.
And I think I said, it might have been with you, it might have been with somebody else on one of the pods. That sequence, you've got Hans Zimmer's score, you've Amy Adams there, this great big sacrifice against Doomsday. Although it's not really Doomsday, I've went on this rant before, it's more Bizarro. And I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I literally sat there going, right, what? Big what? Who cares? We know. I've read Death of Superman. I know he comes back. I know he's brought back, and I know that's going to be the catalyst for Justice League. But why do that after 2 films?
One of the biggest eye rolls in cinema history. He's dead. They show you his funeral, and then it cuts to his coffin, and there's bits of like dirt floating above his thing. You're like, oh, fuck off! Like, don't do this, Zack Snyder. Don't kill him off and then go, yeah, but you'll never guess. Big man's back. You're like, fuck you.
It's not like Empire Strikes Back with Han.
Yeah.
It's not. That's what you're kind of... Look, I think this is a rant save for another day. So The Flash is not more than pixels on a screen for you, not more than pixels on a screen for me. But, Adam, we are on our next episode. What we're going to do now, going forward with the recordings, we're going to talk about something more recent. I've already mentioned that Evan Henry's going to be up in a couple of weeks talking about Spider-Man Across the Multiverse. But we're going to follow up each of those recordings with the next episode. We're going to be talking about a film that our guest, in this case you, has picked as their film that they think is more than pixels on a screen. So do you want to tell our listeners, do you want to leave a little audible breadcrumb to tell them what film we will be discussing on our next episode?
Well, if you enjoyed seeing Nicolas Cage as Kal-El and think to yourself, why is he Superman? Well, the story comes from one Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith, of course, is the author, director of many a movie, Mallrats, Jen Silent Bob Strikes Back, but you can never beat his classic original movie, Clerks.
So there you go. We will be talking about that on the next episode, and I'm sure there'll be just as many tangents and rambles and giggles. So you have that to look forward to. So for this episode, we'll bring things to an end. So thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks very much for listening. I've been your host, Jim McLean. We'll be back soon with another episode. But for now, until then, goodbye.